the daily checklist every man over 60 needs to stay fit, fresh, and young. Quick question before we start. When's the last time you actually felt fresh? Not rested after a good night's sleep, not fine, genuinely fresh, the way you did decades ago, waking up with something close to eagerness instead of effort. If you're struggling to remember, you're not alone, and it's very likely not because of anything dramatic happening in your health. Researchers studying vitality in older adults keep landing on the same surprising conclusion. It's rarely one big lifestyle failure that drains that feeling. It's a short list of small daily habits, almost all of them free, quietly going missing one at a time until the cumulative effect is a version of fine that used to feel like something much better. Today, I'm giving you that exact list in the order it actually matters, and none of it requires buying anything new. Point 1. The 2-minute habit most men skip entirely. Let's start with something so simple it sounds almost too easy to matter. Morning light exposure. Getting natural light in your eyes within the first hour of waking has a documented effect on the body's cortisol and hormone rhythm for the rest of the day. It's essentially a signal that tells your internal clock the day has officially started, which cascades into better energy regulation, better mood stability, and better sleep quality that night, setting the tone for roughly the next 16 hours before you've done anything else at all. Most men over 60 skip this entirely. Coffee first, phone first, curtains still closed, the whole morning conducted indoors under artificial light that never sends the same signal to the body, regardless of how bright the kitchen bulb happens to be. It costs nothing and takes 2 minutes, and it's one of the simplest inputs. Research keeps pointing back to when explaining why some men wake up sharp and clear-headed, and others wake up foggy for no clear reason they can ever quite put their finger on. The habit itself is almost embarrassingly simple. Step outside or sit by an open window for a couple of minutes before the day gets moving. That's genuinely the whole thing, and it takes less time than making the coffee most men reach for first instead. Point 2. The thirst signal that quietly stops working. Here's one almost nobody talks about, and it's worth understanding exactly why it happens, rather than just being told to drink more water without any explanation. As the body ages, the thirst response, the mechanism that tells you when you're dehydrated, measurably blunts. That means a lot of men over 60 are walking around mildly, chronically dehydrated without ever feeling thirsty enough to notice or do anything about it. And mild chronic dehydration doesn't announce itself loudly the way real thirst does. It shows up quietly instead, as low energy, dull skin, stiffer joints, and a general sense of feeling less fresh. Exactly the feeling this video opened with, and one that a lot of men have simply accepted as an unavoidable part of getting older, rather than a fixable, overlooked input hiding in plain sight. The fix isn't complicated, but it does require intention, because the body's own alarm system for this specific problem simply isn't as reliable as it used to be. Waiting to feel thirsty is no longer a good enough strategy after 60. By the time thirst actually registers, the mild deficit has usually already been present for a while, quietly working against energy and recovery in the background. Building water intake into specific points in the day, rather than waiting for a signal that may not arrive on time, closes that gap without requiring anyone to obsessively track ounces all day long or carry a jug around everywhere they go. Point 3. The movement that matters more than the workout. Here's a finding that surprises a lot of disciplined, gym-going men who assume the hard part of the day is the only part that counts. Research on non-exercise movement, walking, standing, doing errands, general daily activity outside of structured workouts, shows it contributes as much to long-term metabolic health as the workout itself, sometimes more, depending on how the rest of the day is actually spent. A man who trains hard 3 times a week, but sits still for the other 22 hours of every one of those days, is missing a huge piece of what actually keeps the body metabolically young and responsive. This is exactly why physique and vitality work best as a complete system, rather than isolated gym sessions bolted onto an otherwise sedentary life, which is the whole philosophy behind the Alpha Protocol. It doesn't just hand you workouts and walk away, leaving the other 23 hours of your day to chance. It structures daily movement, recovery, and lifestyle habits around the training, So the results from the gym don't get quietly undone by long stretches of sitting still that most men never think to count as part of the equation at all. If your training is genuinely solid, but something still feels like it's missing from the results, that daily structure outside the gym is very likely it. And the link is in the description and pinned comment. Point 4. Why isolation is a physical problem, not just an emotional one. This next one connects mental and physical health in a way most fitness content never mentions, and it's one of the more underrated pieces of this entire checklist. Social and cognitive engagement functions as a genuine physical health input, not simply a nice-to-have alongside it. Research on isolation has linked it to elevated inflammation markers, the same kind of background inflammation that's been shown to interfere with recovery, energy, and how fresh the body feels day to day, quietly working against every other habit on this list, even when all of them are being followed correctly. In other words, staying socially engaged isn't a separate optional part of a good life, sitting next to physical health, disconnected from it. It's an active input into it, functioning almost like another supplement or another training variable, except it's rarely tracked or discussed that way. A man who trains hard but has quietly become isolated, whether through retirement, distance from friends, or simply drifting out of regular contact with people, may be fighting his own progress without ever realizing where that particular resistance is actually coming from. This doesn't require an overhauled social calendar either. A standing weekly call, a regular walk with a friend, or simply showing up consistently to the same gym or community group at the same time each week is often enough to keep this input active without turning it into another obligation to manage. Bonus point, the free testosterone habit. Here's the one that ties this whole list together, and it circles right back to where we started, closing the loop on the entire checklist. Brief, regular sun exposure has a documented link to healthy vitamin D status, and vitamin D status in turn correlates with healthier testosterone levels in several studies. That means one of the simplest, completely free daily habits available, a short amount of time outside, doing nothing more complicated than existing under natural light, may be quietly supporting the exact hormone so many men over 60 are chasing with supplements, prescriptions, and complicated protocols that cost far more and deliver far less certainty. It's not a replacement for training or nutrition, and nobody should mistake it for one. But it's a genuinely free lever sitting right there, unused, in most men's daily routine, doing quiet work in the background, while everyone's attention is focused on far more complicated fixes. Stack it with the morning light habit from point 1, and a man has effectively built 2 of his most impactful daily inputs into the same few minutes outside, before the day has even properly started. Recap: here's the full checklist, quickly, in the order it actually matters throughout the day. Point 1. 2 minutes of morning light exposure supports your hormone rhythm for the entire day ahead. Point 2. The thirst response weakens with age, so hydration after 60 has to be intentional and scheduled rather than reactive and left to a signal that isn't reliable anymore. Point 3. Daily non-exercise movement matters as much as the workout itself, which is exactly why the Alpha Protocol structures the full day, not just the gym session sitting inside it. Point 4. Social and cognitive engagement functions as a physical health input through inflammation markers, not just a mood booster sitting off to the side. And the bonus habit brings it home. Regular sun exposure supports vitamin D, which supports the exact hormone most men are trying to optimize in far more complicated and expensive ways. None of these habits are dramatic. That's exactly why they get overlooked, and exactly why they work quietly every single day, whether you're paying attention to them or not. If this gave you a checklist you can actually start today, that's exactly the kind of practical science this channel is built on. Subscribe to StyleConnection so you never miss what actually keeps a man fit, fresh, and young after 60. See you in the next video. Stay fit and strong. Thanks for watching.